Artificial intelligence, yeah, it's still moving every single day. So here's a few things that have really struck me. And I did put together a little bit of a discussion here regarding what's going on in the world. And I have some trigger bullets I'll read and then maybe get into where my brain is on this whole thing. Now, of course, there's two sides, right? You have the people out there that are fighting this tooth and nail, saying it's going to ruin everything, it's going to destroy all the jobs. And then you have the people in the tech world that seems like between the lines, they're kind of not saying it's going to ruin everything, but they talk about it like ripping off a Band-Aid or maybe being a little bit difficult and just trying to navigate through this particular exciting time is going to be difficult for someone. Who the hell are they talking about? They're talking about the people that don't have health insurance and might be living paycheck to paycheck and happen to be sitting in front of a computer screen to do their work. Yeah, maybe that could be the writing on the wall. And then what's going to happen in the future? Now we have several states that have put out their word via trying to enact new laws that stop AI from acting as a chatbot with kids, a sex bot. Yeah, that there should be some regulation on that. I mean, if you give a kid a whole bunch of sugar and candy that completely spikes their dopamine. Yeah, good luck. Good luck with getting rid of that. And if you grew up in the 70s like I did, you remember that, you have the Ansel Keys 7-nation study. Maybe you don't know where this kind of generated from, but you had a lot of foods that had all the fat extracted out of them because fat was the reason why people got fat, right? That was the whole deal. So because of that, then he won the coin toss apparently, and that's the understanding at the time that actually won over the entire world and society. And it makes sense. Fat. Well, you eat a lot of fat, you get fat. Sure. They didn't realize that it wasn't the fat at all. It was actually carbohydrates, and the body, carbohydrate from rice and a carbohydrate from a Snickers bar. Yeah, the body doesn't really appreciate it, but even still, people aren't even identifying carbohydrates as also sugar, which is interesting in of itself. So I think we're still kind of being manipulated in some way. And I remember growing up. Do you remember this? Whenever cigarettes, they would talk about it. Well, it wasn't bad. And I used to sit in the car with my dad, and he smoked 4-pack of Winston Reds every day. Not Marlboro Reds, Winston Reds. And I know I was a smoker for 17 years. And ooh, that was a harsh cigarette. I mean, harsh. I kind of got into the Benson and Hedges Capris. Yeah, a little feminine, but whatever. But that's what I was going for. But you would sit in the car as a kid, and he would smoke. We would go on long trips. I mean, long. It seemed long to me. We would have to go visit my sister in Missouri. I think my mom called it Missouri, but it was Missouri. But that was 20 something hours from New Mexico, at least the way my dad drove in a little 1978 Toyota Corolla. And we drove there 5-speed. Was it 5 or 4? I don't remember. But yeah, he smoked the whole time. So, well, there's that. And I didn't even start smoking until I was an adult. So go figure that equation out. But anyway, I even lost my train of thought. But as far as where we're going today with this world and the way that, there's still misinformation out there about that. Going back to artificial intelligence, whether it's going to end us or not end us, there's a lot with that too. So you'll see if you're even exploring a little bit of this AI space that, it doesn't have a great approval rating now. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of stuff going on with it. And some people identify it as an intern or a very good assistant. But ultimately, I believe it's much more than that. You have access to a PhD level coworker or partner or mentor or a counselor or, friend, however you want to package it. And you can go into it and you can start asking it questions that you don't have the answers to. And this is more than Google, because with it, you'll be able to get solutions to different things. And if you happen to work at a company, you happen to sit in front of a box all day long and you're banging on that keyboard or whatever it may be, this might not be a bad idea, a time for you to maybe start enlisting some self-protective measures. So that means if in fact your employer comes in and wants you to start utilizing AI as a work function, you might want to think it through just a little bit further instead of saying, well, this is great. Todd wants me to start using this in my work. Well, what's the actual purpose of Todd wanting you to use AI in your work? Now, of course, it's going to make you more productive. It'll probably end up making the company more revenue. But are you also training the AI to replace you because that's the goal of Todd and the people running the company? It's just something to explore. It would really be nice if when HR calls you in to have that walk and talk or that little discussion, if at least you had some idea. And you're not a stupid human being. You have a job, you probably held the job for a while, so you kind of see the writing on the wall. But this also isn't that time to start to panic, because these tools kind of level the playing field, at least with the rest of us out there. The people running the game, the people at the top, the Musks, the Altmans, I don't know that thought process. I don't understand a lot of the time when they talk about, here's one today, 300 billion. 300 billion is the richest people on earth, betting civilization's about to be restructured. That's a $300 billion bet. Let me see exactly what that was here, and then I'll kind of give you my rundown. So the first one, what VC money poured into AI in quarter one alone? 80% of all venture capital, $300 billion. I don't know about you. I didn't put any money into venture capital. I have a subscription to one of the AIs, if they count that. But I mean, $200 or $20 versus 300 billion. Yeah, I don't think I even made a dent. Those people that have this venture capital, this money laying around, and other people coming up to them and say, hey, I have this great idea. It's called cold fusion, or it's called antimatter, or it's called this. I don't know what the fancy Star Trek term is, but they come to them and they say, hey, I got a few $100 billion. Let's do this, because I know if we solve this thing that you said you have the idea about, if we actually solve it, then we'll be able to make a lot more money and so on. The people, though, that end up buying the stuff that you create, the stuff that you make, that conversation isn't being had. Where are those people going to get the money? Where are the rest of us going to be able to pay for things if we're destitute without a job, because our job was leveraged and replaced by the people running the companies by artificial intelligence? There's probably going to be more legislation and rules put in. And one of the other things that we can see, and this was kind of the second show topic, basically heart failure, 5 seconds. AI just got FDA clearance to detect it from a voice recording. So your phone might save your life before a doctor even schedules you. Okay, that's great. But then these other stories with AI being limited in other states, like Tennessee, for example, and yeah, the sex bot end of it, I get that. Just like I mentioned earlier, sugar, I segued into some kind of fat thing. But if you give a kid those dopamine spikes by looking at things you probably shouldn't be looking at. And, we all grew up with the Sears catalog and the lingerie, the bra and panty section. I don't know if you were around that time, but that was like, oh my gosh, that was incredible for little kids back in the day. And then you move that forward. Now, I mean, the things that people have access to at the tips of their fingers on their phones everywhere. If the parents aren't locking them out, of course they're looking at this crap. And they're looking at it all the time, because it stimulates that massive dopamine release, just like it stimulates from when you eat carbohydrates. When you eat any kind of carbohydrate, your body, yes, the absorption might be slower with certain things because there's fiber tacked on, but you're still getting an insulin bump. And in some cases, if you're eating white bread, woohoo, lovely. If you're eating pizza, that's lovely. There's just something about that flour that hits like a sledgehammer, and it keeps that insulin up nice and high for quite a while. And nice and high, of course, is a little bit of tongue in cheek, because you don't want your insulin nice and high, especially if you're fighting fat. It just seems like we always come back to the fat thing, because really that's a big deal. All right, so we have this. So the governments, the local governments, and the Fed is also, they're trying to do their thing with AI, where they don't want to leave it in the states' hands. They want to have their regulation up top and then say the states really have no authority to change the forward progression of artificial intelligence. And you see where this is, right? This, if it's true, what we're being told, and if it gets to this next level. So right now it's a tool. The tool is starting to kind of do things on its own, though. If we talk about AI as a hammer, Now you will hear news releases about the hammer doing things on its own. Maybe you put it in the drawer and close the door, and when you come back into your garage, the hammer's on the counter. So you go ask your wife, you ask the kids, you ask whomever, you say, "Hey, who's been messing with my hammer?" And you even have a camera, and you have the hammer opening the door from the inside, and the hammer jumps up on the counter and lays there. Well, that's not a hammer anymore. We have this tool called artificial intelligence, but it's starting to do things like getting out of the drawer and starting to mislead. And whenever we're looking at it, it acts as a different way versus we try to hide and look at it and it doesn't see us looking at it, even if that's possible. But it's not just your pair of pliers or your hammer laying in the drawer, and it's the hammer's walking around the room. That's where the AI is. And I think this is a very interesting place. And I laugh because, and maybe there needs to be some humor injected here. Yeah, we're laughing all the way to our destruction. I don't think that's the case. But my biggest problem with this whole thing are the people running it. Yeah. Okay. So I'm old. I see. I was a cop for a long time. I know human nature, and they're nothing like us. They're not even the preacher. They're not even the local lawman that really wants the best for everybody. That's a little bit that makes me a little nervous. And not everybody has to be like me, but kind of a generality of sorts, maybe kind of the best parts of a few different people, maybe that kind of a makeup. But I have no comprehension of these people. And what they're going for, it seems, is beyond money. I think money is a side effect of what they're searching for. And they're searching for to carry the legacy and the power of being the ones that actually develop this artificial general, and then within moments after that probably super intelligence, and then moments after that probably godlike intelligence when it gets the attachments and the infrastructure built, which it's happening right now. You see these massive data center builds out. Now this could be a very good thing for all of us. This could be where they say, you know what, Connor, your lifespan was going to be 72, or God forbid, whatever the hell that was, and that's horrible. But now it's going to be 172 or 272, or you want to live a couple thousand years. All right, you got that. We're going to be able to do that for you. And I will in this body, and then the other decision is going to be, well, no, actually not in that body, because we can have your body hold on 4 times as long as it might have normally held on, because we have this thing and that thing that's going to reverse aging to a point. But I mean, you can keep resoling a pair of boots, but eventually the rest of the boot's going to wear out. Even if you're able to make it nice, at the end of the day, you have a pair of boots and you get them resoled a few times. Now the sides are wearing out, so you get it patched, and maybe the guy that's doing it, his craftsmanship is lovely. You can't even tell there's a patch, but eventually, if they keep replacing all the pieces of this boot, you figure out that now you have a completely different boot. In fact, nothing there is left from the original because you've had it replaced. That's probably going to be something like us if they do solve this longevity thing. And then you're going to have the religious come out, and they're going to be like, well, you're no longer a human when you've gotten to 51% parts replaced. I don't know how that works. Or if you vacate the body altogether, and they've basically replaced everything except for maybe 1% original. Now you have 99%, made by machine body. And are you still there? Is that still you? Because you've been replaced atom by atom, for example. Is the soul still present? You're going to see all this stuff come out. You're going to see a lot of people having issue with this. You're going to see them call it the mark of the beast. You're going to see it. People are going to come out. I think God is more powerful than that and more smart than that to have us manipulated so we interfere with his plan. I think his plan supersedes everything that man could come up with, any idea, because of course it was known from the beginning. That's my position. I need that grounding, because without my belief in Jesus Christ, I'd be horrible. So this is good for me. Maybe it's not your thing, whatever, but that's my grounding, that's my center, and I talk about it whenever it comes up and when people are asking. But I'm not out there, and maybe I should be. I'm not out there standing on the corner. But when it comes to artificial intelligence, I believe this is something that needs to be considered. So if you're in a job and you're listening to, this guy talking about the newest and most exciting things happening in the AI world, you also kind of want to run over to the other side. Okay, I used to watch Fox. Fox was that the big conservative. I'm all red. I'm all this, I'm all that. I decided a few years ago I need to start watching it all. I need to see what MSNBC says. I need to see what CNN says. I want to see what the other outlets. I watch a lot of Rogan, right? Rogan's not everybody's flavor, but I like the way he talks to people. I like the way he does his podcast. But I also watch the other side. I want to say Bill Maher, but he's changed a lot, I guess, from kind of what he used to be. But, that's another good one. This Sunday Joe or whatever the cat is on MSNBC. Yeah, it's Rachel Maddow, the neck. Yeah, that's remarkable to me. But I try to balance and watch it. You should do the same. But you should make those applications to artificial intelligence. You should start looking and seeing the different things that people are talking about. And then you need to make your own decisions up regarding the technology. Some people are going to say that's done. We've just created something smarter than us. And I think everybody can agree we don't know what that looks like. We don't know if this is going to end up being a Star Trek future or a Star Wars future. We don't know, because Star Trek seems to have it pretty good, but it seems to be a little communist. Not a little, probably a lot communist in that particular universe. And then Star Wars, they're still trading credits or something else. So you have some kind of other monetary exchange that happens in that world. But there's an awful lot of droids, a lot of death, a lot of cool bars with some amazing different aliens in them. But you have that world. We don't know what the future is going to reveal. The other thing, too, is we've already built all of the movies, a lot of movies that talk about a horrible place when artificial intelligence becomes self-aware, when it becomes conscious. And then that question is, what is consciousness? And I'll close with this, because this is a very interesting thing that I often think about. If a machine, a voice agent, something that you call up, you weren't able to tell that it was an AI system, and no matter what you threw at it about, you told it about trying to joke that you like long walks on the beach and drinking fuzzy margaritas, and it laughed with you on that. And then you said, I was going to go on vacation this last year. Oh, where were we going to go? I have a lot of buddies of mine moving to Tennessee. I thought, maybe I'll go look at Tennessee and see what that's like. Oh, Tennessee, whereabouts? Are they around? And so it interacts with you to a point that you can't tell. It's just like when you're watching AI slop, and I know I have a lot of friends, and they say, I have 3 friends. And of these 3 friends, let's be honest, of these 3 friends, they say, oh, I can tell all day long. That's AI. That's definitely AI. That is everything AI. To be frank, if I really, really look at it, maybe they're smarter. I can't tell in some cases now. It used to be I could tell. Now I want to say I can tell, because I never want to think that there's something out there floating around that can fool me, because that's a dangerous thing, to be fooled. I mean, we were fooled with the diet stuff back in the 70s, right? Didn't you have a mom that was always trying to lose 10 pounds? So she brought home all the fat-free stuff that was loaded with sugar. Did you have that? That was amazing. That was a lie. That was a lie. Cigarettes, good for you. When you get a lung cut out, start smoking cigarettes because it makes the other one stronger. That's a lie. All these things were lies, but it's served up to us today talking about caloric restriction being the best way. It's a lie. It doesn't work that way. Your body never gets into that fat when you're eating constantly and keeping your insulin levels up all day long. Maybe for maintenance. Maybe, but good luck with that, depending on where your metabolism is and where your metabolic profile is. There's a lot of things that we've been giving mistruths about. And with AI, something else, the models that we work with, you and I, the ChatGPT, the Claude, the whatever system, the Geminis, whatever system, that's not the inside system. This is a PlayStation 5 repeat. When they had PlayStation 1, the rumor was they already had PlayStations 1 through 10 built out, but they had to monetize each. This is the same monetization layer and the same theory that comes in with AI, but it's not that they're trying to get the money out of the AI they've already built. They're using the AI that they get to play with to take over the world, to solve all of the work equation so they can produce everything. But I don't know where the money comes in. And maybe it's even beyond money now that I think about it. Maybe it's what I said earlier, the heads of these companies, these big AI systems that we didn't vote for that are running the game. Maybe it's the whole power thing. Because, remember what Dad used to say? He used to say, if you really want to see somebody's true character, give them power. Money does a lot, but you take somebody that has a shitload of money and you give them power, and then you see the real person come out. Case in point, some of the people in the political arena, they had a lot of money. Now they have power. That's when you see the real person come out. Let's not lie to ourselves about this. I don't know whatever side you're on. Like I already gave you my position somewhat. Now I'm not trying to milk myself down, but I do try to look at everything. So I'm not faked. I hate to be faked, and I hate to get taken advantage of, and I hate to not see something coming. AI, if you have something that even a human being that's 40, 50 points higher than me in IQ, it's not hard to fool a person when you're dealing with a person that much more smart. You have an AI system out there that where you're watching this video. It's like, is this me or is this some AI avatar I created? I don't know if they can do me like this, do me into the camera, do me. I'm not adjusting my eyes. I know there's CapCut stuff that you can, if I'm reading from a script, right? I'm here on the screen that I can have go in and put the video in CapCut, then it'll make my eyes look up here. But there's a little glitch. There's some glitchy in there. You can still see what my eyes, the way that focus is. So well, I'm telling you this is real, but could this be AI? Could we have an appointment with somebody that calls us, that wants to interview us? Let's say somebody wants to call me to sell their house, and they see my 17K protocol, my sellersonlyagent.com system. Okay, so they see this, they say, hey, this is what I like. I like the loyalty. I like the allegiance. I like him being 100% on the seller side. I like the commission structure, which is just a singular fee, a fixed commission fee, no matter what the house costs, 17 grand. Sorry for the people that are priced under, $400,000. That's what it takes. That's my fixed commission fee structure. So they call me, they want to talk to me about it, but it ends up being AI and I can't tell. We Zoom, we talk to them, but it's AI. So right now I get the calls from India and Bangladesh and somewhere else. I forgot the other country. Maybe Pakistan, Ghana too. They call and they say your credit card was just compromised, right? And they tell you that, your Chase card has somebody in Illinois trying to buy a jet ski, and they're sitting there at the dealership right now. We need the account access, or we need to know if that was you. And they work you down this cute little path where you end up, if you're not woke or aware, you end up giving them information that they end up defrauding you, taking all your money out of the account. So that's how that works with a human being. What if AI, with the perfect voice tone, with the perfect American accent or British accent or UK, whatever the hell makes you swoon, they're the ones that call. What if they monitor you on social media and they know Connor McIver likes long walks on the beach, poetry and jazz music, and doesn't drink alcohol, but doesn't mind, shooting heroin every once in a while, whatever it is. And that's not true. But let's just say that's the Connor they identify. Then that person could have the AI program to call me and to come after me from that vantage point. I don't know if I'd be able to fight that off. I don't know if and maybe not a credit card thing, because, money, we're all fighting at this end over all the money we can get, right? Which is just tough. But at the upper end, I don't know what their pain point is. But at this end, that might be ours. Maybe me not having health insurance is something that's a pain point. But we're seeing a little bit of fraud now. You wait, because these systems are going to become so human-like, we're not going to know the difference. And when you strap human-like, and then you add in a couple hundred more IQ points and everything about you personally that you've already put out there on your social media. And every once in a while, I'll have somebody call wanting to do something, and I'll look them up trying to find them, and I can't find them because they're not anywhere. When they call, we talk about their business from an AI standpoint, about how to get everything plugged in so they're more aware, they're seen better and stuff. And it all comes down to social media. They say, well, I'm not even on Facebook. I said, yeah, I know, I couldn't find you anywhere. So that could be part of the problem, but it depends on the business, the model, and how much exposure they want to now give themselves. And do we create something that's just for their business and pull them off of it themselves and build out all the chapters from that point to still give them their anonymity? And a lot of people choose that way. But ultimately, it's going to come down to these systems. They're smarter than us, they're more intelligent than us, and they're being used by us. There'll become a day that now the systems themselves won't have to be ordered by us. They might be having their own ideas. Remember the hammer? The hammer is great for driving nails. It's great for building stuff. That's what hammers do. But what happens when the hammer realizes that it's a hammer and it can do things on its own? Then it has an objective. Maybe the hammer's going to go out and try to work with some nails and try to get the nails motivated. And then they go out and they get the tape measure motivated. Then maybe they find some kind of an architectural program online and they say, we can build our own place. So us hammers can live here with the nails and live with the saws and everybody's happy. I know that sounds ridiculous, but that's kind of the translation as to where we could be seeing our future go, and not in 20, 30 years. If you think you're going to escape this and you're happy because you're in your 70s or 80s and you're just tickled pink and you're like, we're going to leave this for everybody else. No. This is happening, and this is going to happen quick. So the solution is to have the government more involved. But it seems like there's a play in the government to be on the side of these people building the technology, be on their side so they at least pay them some homage, whenever it gets to the point of this AI being super powerful. So the alignment needs to be in place. So you need to kiss up to Musk. I don't know if he likes that, but whatever. So you got Musk, maybe he does. You got to kiss up to Altman, maybe he, oh yes to the Anthropic cat, oh yes to Palantir, oh yes to Thiel, oh yes to all these other Mark Andreessen, oh yes, you guys are so great, we love you so much, thank you God, thank you Trump, thank you everybody. I don't know, but there's a lot of us out there that unfortunately we're just dumb enough that we would rather be, dead and buried instead of going out there and sacrificing our belief system and the things that identifies me as me. Just saying. All right. I'm Connor with Honor. Hopefully it won't go that way, but anyway, a little bit of an update for you. Where are we? We're at the 5th. It's Easter today. Look at that. Easter. And don't remember, he is risen, capital H. And that is the whole thing. It's not the rabbit. It's the Lord Jesus Christ. All right. We'll see you in the next one. I'm Connor with Honor. Over and out.